Please. Recording
Yeah,
starts now.
please.
Recording is starting now. You may kindly tell me.
Yeah. Hello everyone. I'm Advocate Ritu Rastogi, as explained by Premji. Actually, today Miss Sasmita Tripathi was to deliver the lecture, but unfortunately she is not there. So I will try to explain these acts. Although I have left a long back, I'm not dealing in these cases anymore since 2-3 years. But I will try my level best. So today we will speak about domestic violence and rights of Muslim women and marriage acts, both Hindu and Muslim. So I will start from Muslim Protection Right of Divorce Act 1986. As we know, the condition of Muslim women, and there's a famous case. This case is Shaira Banu versus Union of India 2017 9 SSC 1. I will write in chat box. I will write in chat box also. Two 2017 9 SCC 1. Shaira Banu famous case. Right. Article 25, 2014, all many articles and many other things were discussed in this matter, and many cases was affirmed. Right. Sorry. There was a case, Shamim Ara case. It was also affirmed in this matter. And it was declared that what is bad in theology was once good in law, but after Shariat has been declared as the personal law, what is Quranically wrong cannot be legally right. So in this triple talaq or talaq-e-iddat was discussed by the 5 bench judges. Talaq-e-biddat or triple talaq. We usually know that a Muslim husband used to say talaq, talaq and talaq. But in actual, as per Shariat, it is not like that. As per Shariat, the triple talaq has to pronounce in stages. But it was largely misused. So that's why this case was there, and many things were decided by the court. And there was a case in Shamim era 2002 7 SSC 518. 2002 7 SSC 518. It was affirmed in Shaira Banu case, and section article 25 and article 14. It was said that you cannot violate article 14 by saying triple talaq illegally. Triple talaq was pronounced illegal by these judgments. And now we'll come upon this Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. The Supreme Court in Muhammad Ahmad Khan versus Shah Banu Begum, 1985. 1985, 2 SSC 556 was held that though the Muslim law limits the husband's liability to provide for maintenance of the divorced wife on the period of iddat, it does not contemplate or countenance the situation envisaged thus by section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. The court held that it would be incorrect and unjust to extend the above principle of Muslim law to cases in which the divorced wife is unable to maintain herself. The court therefore came to the conclusion that if the divorced wife is able to maintain herself, the husband's liability ceases with the expiration of the period of iddat. But if she is unable to maintain herself after the period of iddat, she is entitled to have recourse to section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. So they provided, although this Muslim husband is not liable to provide the maintenance to his divorced Muslim wife after period of iddat, but if she is not capable to maintain herself, then he is liable, and divorced Muslim woman can adopt procedure under section 125 CRPC. There is a case law. I think this is the same case law, yes, in which it was decided. And there is another case law, Haider Khan versus Mehrun Nisa, 1993. 1993, 1 APP, 1 AP, LJ, D and C, 82, Kerala. It is Haider Khan versus Mehrun Nisa, 1993, 1 AP, LJ, D and C, 82, Kerala. In this, it was said that the act is declaratory and retrospective in its operation. Even if wife is divorced prior to the commencement of the act, she is entitled to invoke the provisions of the act, and the husband is liable to provide reasonable and fair provision and maintenance to her. So even if she was divorced earlier, she can invoke the provisions of this act to call the maintenance from her husband. The provisions of the act do not offend Article 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution of India. It was held in Daniel Latif versus Union of India, 2001, 7 SEC 740. 2001 7 SEC 740. I think Daniel Latif case is very famous case, and we used to give citations of this case because many points were decided in this matter. There is one another case, which is Muhammad Abbas versus Azazal, 2011, 108 AIC 436, Allahabad. Yeah, Muhammad Latif case is very vast and very famous case, and Daniel Latif. Yes, right. This one is another case which I am writing right now. 2011, 108 AJC 436, Allahabad. It is Muhammad Abbas versus Azazan. In this, it was held that the various provisions of the 1986 Act would apply to a Muslim woman who has been divorced even before enforcement of the Act. That is the same thing. And one more thing, this Act, Women Protection Act from the divorce, is not applied to the married women. It is applied only on divorced women. And that is case law is Iqbal Banu versus State of UP 2007-6 SSC 785. Iqbal Banu versus State of UP 2007. SCC 785. It says that only divorced Muslim woman can take protection under this act and not the married woman. And a few more that the act does not apply to a Muslim woman whose marriage is solemnized either under the Indian Special Marriage Act or a Muslim woman whose marriage was dissolved either under the Indian Divorce Act or the Indian Special Marriage Act. The act does not apply to deserted or separated Muslim wives. This was also held in Daniel Latif that if the marriage was solemnized under other act like Special Marriage Act or Indian Marriage Act, that divorced woman cannot take protection under this act, or deserted woman which is not divorced as per Muslim law also cannot take protection of this act. Now, what is the burden of proof of divorce? The burden of proof to prove that she has a divorce is on in the Muslim husband. He has to prove in the court by adducing cognate and additional evidence that he has been divorced to the wife as per Muslim law and it is a proper divorce. That was held in Khatun B versus Ghani Khan 2002-3 MP LJ 449 2002. Three MP LJ 449. So it is the burden of proof on the Muslim husband that he gave divorce to his wife as per Muslim law and the divorce is valid. If he is not able to prove the divorce was valid, that divorce will not be contained as a legal divorce and he is bound to keep his wife as his married wife. And what about the meher? In this meher, there is one type of meher that is a mere Fatimi. What is mere Fatimi? Maybe we all have heard about Prophet Muhammad. The Fatimi was the daughter of Muhammad Prophet, and in her marriage, whatever the mehers were given to that bride, that was used to call the meher Fatimi. And meher Fatimi is a fixed quantity of silver. And if today's age, if there's a meher Fatimi written in the marriage, means the husband, while giving divorce to the wife, has to pay the amount of that much silver ornaments as per today's market value. That called meher Fatimi. We have discussed the maintenance of the Muslim divorced wife. Now we'll come. It's a very short topic which come after Sarah Banu case. That is Muslim Women Protection of Right of Marriage Ordinance 2018. Declaration of talaq to be void and illegal. It is chapter 2, section 3. Chapter 2, section 3 of Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Ordinance 2018. Muslim women protection of rights on marriage ordinance 2018. It's a section 3. Talaq to be void and illegal. Any pronouncement of talaq by a person upon his wife by words either spoken or written or in electronic form or in any other manner whatsoever shall be void and illegal. As in starting I said, there was a provision in Shariat how to give triple talaq. Triple talaq is not just 3 words which has to be pronounced at the moment, which is happening nowadays, and it's a great huge misuse. Actually, it's a procedure, and triple talaq has to pronounce in different phases. And what is the punishment? Punishment section 4 of the law for that. Punishment for pronouncing talaq. Any Muslim husband who pronounces talaq referred to in section 3 upon his wife shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years and fine. Now chapter 3, protection of rights of married Muslim women, substances allowance, which was not earlier there, without prejudice to the generality of the provisions contained in any other law for the time being in force, a married Muslim woman upon whom talaq is pronounced shall be entitled to receive from her husband such amount of substance allowance for her and dependent children as may be determined by the magistrate. And earlier there was, I don't think, I think Mr. Muhammad Ismail can help me in this if I'm saying something wrong or different. Custody of minor children. Earlier Muslim women were not getting custody of their children, but by inducement of this act, now they can ask the custody of their minor children. Section 6 says, notwithstanding any contained in any other law for the time being in force, a married Muslim woman shall be entitled to custody of her minor children in the event of pronouncement of talaq by her husband in such manner as may be determined by the magistrate. Section 7 of the Act says about the offences to be cognizable and compoundable. If the magistrate feels after arguments or after grounds that bail can be granted, only then the husband can get the bail. Otherwise, there is no provision on the complaint of wife to give a bail to a Muslim husband. Subsection A of section 7 says, an offence punishable under this ordinance shall be cognizable if information relating to the commission of the offence is given to an officer in charge of a police station by a married Muslim woman upon whom talaq is pronounced or an person related to her by blood or marriage. Either Muslim woman who is suffering from this talaq can complain about this to concerned police station or any of her blood relation. Subsection B says an offense punishable under this ordinance shall be compoundable at the instance of the married Muslim woman upon whom talaq is pronounced with the permission of the magistrate, on such term and condition as he may determine. First was the married Muslim woman on whom the talaq was pronounced can complain to police officer or any of her blood relation can do this. In subsection B, there is a magistrate permission is required on the conditions and terms decided by the magistrate. And subsection C says no person accused of an offense punishable under this ordinance shall be released on bail unless the magistrate, on an application filed by the accused and after hearing the married Muslim woman upon whom talaq is pronounced, is satisfied that there are reasonable grounds for granting bail to such person. So this was very small act of Muslim women protection right of marriage. I've said something about the case laws. I have given few case laws, although it's very small act. So I think Premji, should we conclude it here? First, we have to take questions on that, or I should start the domestic violence act because that is also very.
And you may continue with the domestic violence as well. So the question and answers are taken at the end.
Okay. One more thing I want to say in this, the Shaira Bano case, 3 cases were affirmed. One was Shamim Mira, and 2 others were also affirmed by the Supreme Court. Those were Indian Express Newspapers Bombay Private Limited versus Union of India. That is 1985, 1 SEC. 1985. 1 SEC 641 and other was Cellular Operators Association of India versus TRI 2016. 7 SEC 703. These 2 cases were affirmed by 3 cases. One was Shamim Ara. 3 cases were affirmed over the Article 14 by Supreme Court in Shaira Bano case in 2017. So now will come domestic violence. Act 2005. What is domestic violence? Although everybody know, I am not very fond of this act. Hardly I advise any female if there is really any domestic violence, because we all know the misuse of these acts. So first of all, if I am satisfied, yes, of course, there is something, only then I advise. Otherwise, I don't advise women to go in all this hodgepodge. What is domestic violence? Section 3 of Domestic Violence Act 2005 explain what is domestic violence. For the purpose of this act, any act, omission or commission or conduct of the respondent means husband, the close relatives of the husband, or near their friends also include in this, shall constitute domestic violence in case it harms or injury or outdanger the health, safety, life, limb or well-being, whether mental or physical, of the aggrieved person. Aggrieved person doesn't mean only wife, the females, mainly the females. Wife is also there, the females. Now the vast definition of is of females. To tend to do and includes causing physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal and emotional abuse, and economic abuse as well. Means if husband, in-laws, friend use any physical abuse, beating, thrashing, do upon any female members or wife, that covers under Domestic Violence Act. Sexual abuse is also as well if female is not willing, but even husband is forcefully making contact to her, that is also come under the sexual abuse. It's verbally also. If you will utter wrong words to a female, wrong words to wife, that also come under domestic violence. Verbally and emotionally, if you hurt the woman emotionally, that's also covered under domestic violence. And economic abuse. If you are not, the woman is under your dependency and you are not giving proper food to her, expenses for her daily chorus, that also covers under Domestic Violence Act. Who can report such incidents? It's very important. All the many times, many people don't know how they just watch. We have some social responsibilities also. There's a section 4 of the act. Any person who has reason to believe that an act of domestic violence has been or is being or is likely to be committed may give information about it to the concerned protection officer. Protection officer means concerned police station. Suppose in my neighborhood something like this is happening, I'm watching, I'm having reason to believe that is some act of domestic violence is going on, is happening. It is my duty and my right to inform the concerned police station about that incident. Now, if suppose one is informing such incident to a police officer or police station, what is his right or what is the liability he can gain or any problem he can face? No liability, civil or criminal, shall be incurred by any person for giving in good faith of information for the purpose of subsection 1. Suppose I'm hearing something loud, something noisy, something troubling, abusive, and I have faith that it is domestic violence and I report that matter. But on inquiry, it is found that no such incident was going on. It was something else. So I'm not liable for any criminal or civil or any liability, that I cannot be punished for that if I have done in good faith. But of course, if I want to revenge something, I want to trouble somebody, and I falsely report such matter, then obviously I'm liable for that. Section 5 says the duties of police officer or magistrate or service providers who get this complaint. Their duty is to tell her, the female, the right or the actions she can take, about the custody, about monetary relief or residence order. Everything they have to first explain to her. Then the duties of shelter homes. If a female says, "Ki, this is happening to me, and for time being, for my safety, my security, I cannot reside here," then the concerned police officer will shift them in a shelter home. And the shelter home is having duty bound to provide all facilities to that abandoned woman who was there due to domestic violence. And section 7 says the medical facilities, such women are having right to get medical facility also. If she asks that to that police officer that I need medical assistance because maybe she's having some injuries or maybe she required urgent medical attention, then it is duty of medical officer to provide the medical facility to that woman. Now come upon section 7, duties of No, sorry. Section 8. Appointment of protection officers. The state government shall, by notification, appoint such number of protection officers in each district as it may consider necessary, and shall also notify the area or areas within which a protection officer shall exercise the powers and perform the duties conferred on him by or under this act. Now, as we know that everywhere there are Mahila courts, Mahila police stations, and these women commissions also there. Females can approach them also. What are the duties of government in such cases? This is section 11. The central government and every state government shall take all measures to ensure that the provisions of this act are given wide publicity through public media, including the television, radio, and the print media at regular intervals. Second, the central government and state government officers, including the police officers and the members of the judicial services, are given periodic sensitization and awareness training on the issues addressed by this act. Third, effective coordination between the service providers by the concerned ministers and departments dealing with the law, home affairs, including law and order, health and human resources, to address issues of domestic violence is established, and periodical review of the same is conducted. Fourth is protocols for the various ministers concerned with the delivery of services to women under this act, including the courts, are prepared and put in place. This is section 11, which says about the government duties, what they should protect the women of the society from the domestic violence incidents. I think time is very short now. The section 12 is little long about the court proceedings and what should do.
Now, there are 6 minutes. There are 6 minutes more. You can continue.
Yeah,
I
I can continue.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Section 12 says application of magistrate. Application to the magistrate. The aggrieved person can make an application to the magistrate in such a case to sought the relief against the domestic violence. Subsection 1 says an aggrieved person or a protection officer or any other person on behalf of the aggrieved person may present an application to the magistrate seeking one or more relief under this act, provided that before passing an order on such application, the magistrate shall take into consideration any domestic incident report received by him from the protection officer or the service provider. Protection officer and service providers are like this Mahila Thana and this women commissions or any such area officer which has been appointed solely for the purpose of this. Because nowadays in every police station there are separate police station for these type of incident which called Mahila Thana. Subsection B says the relief sought for under subsection 1 may include a relief for issuance of an order for compensation or damage for the injuries caused by the act of domestic violence committed by the respondent, provided that where a decree for any amount as compensation or damages has been passed by any court in favor of the aggrieved person, the amount, if any, paid or payable in pursuance of the order made by the magistrate under this act shall be set off against the amount payable under such decree, and decree shall, notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, or any other law for the time being in force be executable for the balance amount, if any, left after such set off. Means the magistrate can provide interim financial relief to the aggrieved person from domestic violence, and later on that amount can be adjusted in final balance amount if the matter will be settled. Subsection 3 says every application under subsection 1 shall be in such form and contain such particulars as